Now, as we conclude today, I want to kind of deal with the second part of this because, again, in prophecy circles, this is an important part because, again, some of you who know me, I love prophecy. I love Bible prophecy. I love the state of Israel. I love leading tours there. I love all of that stuff that the Bible speaks about so prominently. There are so many things happening in our world that really are kind of going to culminate with the return of Jesus, the things that we're reading about here. So with everything that God is doing in this earth that is in preparation for his return, we know that the devil is doing his thing here as well. So what it does is it really does kind of focus the mind of the believer to take a look at the world around us and see the things that are taking shape. So there is no doubt, and I've said this so many times, a great example of it is what we started to witness, and I won't use the terms because I don't want to get flagged, but the things that happened during the years 2020 and all of the things that happened on the public health side of things, we all know what I'm talking about. There are some that would say that there was a grand conspiracy of people that brought that about, and you know, they can make a very compelling case for it. I've always been kind of more of the idea that this is more of a programming kind of thing, and I think it was much more, rather than people, it was much more something that was done behind the scenes. It was something that was much more demonic. It was something more that the devil's putting things in place and trying to find out just how much power people would be willing to give up for some idea of temporary peace or security of some sort. And there have been so many of those times where it really just gets people conditioned to make them afraid enough, and they will give over an awful lot of control. So the question would be, was it something that was absolutely caused in all of it, or was it something that somebody just capitalized on, or a group of people? And I tend to lean more in that direction when it comes to matters of conspiracy, because I don't think man's all that bright, frankly. So the idea that they're going to be able to put together something with such detail and they've got it all together. Now, again, I will say this, behind the scenes, there may be some people that are just absolutely sold out to everything that the devil represents. They may worship him. They may recognize who he is. They may be doing his bidding, and they're fully invested, just like we are as far as the Lord is concerned. But just because they buy in doesn't mean that they are, as far as I'm concerned. You're talking about people who have a tremendous amount of power, but they're not regenerate people. They're unsaved people doing what unsaved people do. And I use that term quite often. I expect those who are not born again to do things that non-born again people do. They will seek themselves, seek their own power. Maybe they'll just be, doing a number of things, not even realizing what it will ultimately be down the road. And again, the big discussion now is AI. There were a number of other things that had come up over the years. How much power there is in digital this and digital that, and how much of our world has really moved away from just being analog into all digital. All of that's going to have to be in place because the devil's got a very short runway once all this stuff happens. It's only 7 years. So all of that stuff's going to be put in place. So is the devil using people to put those things in place because God's allowing it? What we're reading here, the devil may think that he's got it all figured out, but we read in chapter 18, 17, this is all God's will being done, and he's letting things take place, but he's the one orchestrating it all. So at the end of the day, I don't buy into every single thing as being some clandestine, a bunch of people sitting in a room and they're planning the next steps for the devil to set up his system. I don't believe that there is that big of a conspiracy, if you will. I think that you might just have people being used because they're unregenerate. God is not speaking to them. They are not hearing his voice, and they don't even understand where it's going from here. So I tend to be more that way because I don't think man's smart enough to bring in these kind of things in large numbers. Again, are there really awful, horrible, evil, wicked, vile people doing things behind the scenes? Yeah, it's always been that way. But do they really fully understand all of what they're doing? I don't know. And I certainly don't think it would be a big circle and a whole bunch of people being involved with it. Here's the one thing that we realize, that humans are not really good about keeping secrets. But when you start talking about things of a conspiratorial nature that are years and years and years in the making, and tens of thousands of people are involved in the process, but nobody's bothered leaking it, I have a little bit of a problem trying to buy in that man's able to keep that kind of thing under wraps. You can't keep people from speaking out indefinitely. Sooner or later, the truth gets out. The bigger the conspiracy, the more people that there are to flip. So anyway, I know not everybody's going to agree, but since people will send me things all the time, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? I don't think that there's a conspiracy behind everything that's going on. Sometimes I think people just do things that unsaved people do, and they're being used by the devil, no doubt about it. Are they helping set up what is going to ultimately be his coming out party and the infrastructure that he'll need? Absolutely. But do they fully realize what they're doing? I don't think you could make that case, or I certainly can't. I mean, I could make the case, but I wouldn't believe it. I just, again, don't think that man is that well-versed on things, and man is not eternal on this earth. The devil is going to be in the lake of fire, but he's not eternal because he had a creation, but he's light years ahead of where we are in these things, and he knows where things are heading. So can he take those who don't know him and use them for his bidding without them really fully realizing it? Absolutely. I served him, if you will, when it comes to that. Before I was saved, I was doing all kinds of things that were ungodly, that were not beneficial to the kingdom in any way. If anything, they were furthering his kingdom, but I didn't even know who he was. So I didn't pay attention to him. I wouldn't have worshiped him, quote unquote, if you had given me the option. I was one of those people who thought, well, I grew up in a Christian household, or at the time, Catholic. I grew up in that household, so I believed in God. Didn't mean I served him. So I actually served the other side quite a bit. So the idea that people could do all kinds of really horrible things but not be in on the whole program, yeah, that's not at all hard to understand. So anyway, any questions on that, you can let me know. We have some other really fun topics that are coming up in the next weeks. And again, you're always welcome to let me know about any suggestions that you have. You can do so through the ministry's website on any of the things that I've shared, or any of the details on the Israel trip or other things at oldpaththeology.net. And I'd love to hear from you. There's a contact us page that brings up the email, and I look forward to hearing from you.